So I'd like to tell you a little bit about the core of Raja Yoga philosophy. And that core is coming from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. It's an ancient script written a few centuries before Christ. We don't know exactly when. And it's probably written by a yogi or maybe several yogis under the name Patanjali. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali are a very compact set of pearls of wisdom that are so universal that they are applicable to our modern daily lives, even after 2,500 years, because they are about training our mind and about self-management. The Yoga Sutras start by giving the definition of yoga, which is 4 words in Sanskrit: yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. And that means yoga. The word yoga means being connected, being one, being in a state of union. That state of union is reached by chitta, vritti, nirodha. Chitta means consciousness, or more precise, field of consciousness. And that implies not just our daily consciousness, but also our subconsciousness, our sleeping consciousness, our unconsciousness, and our higher consciousness. So consciousness in a broader sense of the word, our field of consciousness. Vritti means wave or movement. And those 2 words are together, chitta vritti, meaning the movements within our field of consciousness, or the waves in our mind. Like when we measure our consciousness by an EEG, what we see is waves. And that's a beautiful analogy to what yogis perceived as the waves of our mind, the waves of our consciousness. Chitta vritti, the turbulence of our mind. You could also say it like that. And the last word, nirodha, means mastery. So yoga is the mastery of the turbulence of your mind. Or yoga is the mastery of the movements in your consciousness. In brief, yoga is mastering your own mind. Yoga is mastering your consciousness, your awareness. The word nirodha can also be translated as discipline. So yoga is to discipline your field of consciousness, your state of mind. So since Sanskrit is such a rich language, one Sanskrit word can be translated by different words in English, for example. So this definition is quite broad, and as you will understand by now, it has a huge implication. Yoga. Yoga is not standing on your head. It's not doing physical exercises. Yoga is to learn to master yourself, to master your consciousness. But in order to master it, you need to know your consciousness, and especially those different dimensions, those different layers of your consciousness. Like I just mentioned, your subconsciousness, your lower consciousness, your higher consciousness, even your sleeping consciousness. It's really quite a lot. It's a training for life, one could say. Because the sutras continue with Sutra 3 in chapter 1 of the Yoga Sutras, then the seer is at home in himself. And the seer, that's you. You are the seer, the one who sees, the one who perceives. And when are you at home in yourself? You are completely at home in yourself, in this state of oneness, when you can learn to master your mind. Because Patanjali continues in the 4th sutra, otherwise, meaning if you are not in this state of oneness, in this state of connectedness, then there's identification with your ever-changing consciousness. And that means, hi Haji, that you are distracted by your dog who is giving you a paw, or breathing in your neck, or you are identifying with a pain in your toe, or you're identifying with an emotion you woke up with because you had a bad dream. We identify all the time. We identify with our bodies, thinking that we are this body. We identify with our emotions. We identify with our thoughts. Even in our language, this is being expressed because we say, I am sad. If you want to be more precise, according to yoga, you would say, I have a sad feeling. But no, we say, I am sad, or I am scared, or I'm bad, or I'm not good enough, or whatever. We identify with our state of mind. And that is keeping us confined. That is making us smaller than we truly are. That is preventing us from being our full potential. That's preventing us from being who we truly are. So, to recap, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is a state of connectedness, state of being, which is achieved when you master your mind, because then you are at home in yourself, instead of identifying yourself with parts of you that are not truly you. Our body is our vehicle. It's valuable, we can love it, we have to take care of it, but it's not who we are. Our emotions are a vehicle through which we can express love, for example, and joy, and compassion and empathy. It's not who we are. Our thoughts are an instrument. Our mind is a valuable instrument with which we can be creative, we can express our ideas, we can express our thoughts, we can be creative with it, we can create our life with our mind, but it's not who we are. So when we identify with only a part of ourselves, we make ourselves smaller than we are. We do not do justice to ourselves. And according to Patanjali in Sutra 5, there are 5 different basic types of vrittis, of movements in our mind. That doesn't matter so much, that's just a classification. But the interesting thing that he says about it is they can be painful or not painful. And that is something I find incredibly interesting, because Patanjali doesn't speak about bad or good, or there's no judgment. It's just an observation that some of our thoughts and emotions can be painful for us or others, and others not. That some of our thoughts can have painful consequences and others not. So there's no judgment, no good and bad. It's just an observation. When I think I'm not good enough, that has a lot of painful consequences for myself. When I think I want to kill somebody, that has a lot of painful consequences for the other person and for myself in the end. So, beyond judgment, very pure, our movements in our consciousness have painful consequences or not. And that's a topic I'd like to talk about another time.